For seconds. That is how long the kiss lasted before Wren Ashford realized she had just made a catastrophic mistake. She had spotted the black mask with silver trim across the ballroom, the exact one her date Tyler said he would be wearing. She crossed the crowded floor without a second thought, rose onto her toes, kissed him the way she had promised herself she would at midnight. Warm mouth, steady hands settling on her waist instead of pulling away. A low sound in his throat was not surprising. It was something closer to interest. Then he pulled back just enough to look at her, and Wren realized two things at once. This man was easily 4 inches taller than Tyler, and his eyes, pale gray under the mask, belonged to absolutely nobody she had ever met in her life. "Wrong stranger," he said, his voice quiet and rough, amused in a way that made her stomach drop straight through the marble floor. The Ashford Blooms team had spent 6 weeks designing the floral arrangements for this masquerade, a charity gala thrown inside a waterfront estate on the edge of Seattle, all cedar beams and floor-to-ceiling glass fogged with the November rain outside. Wren had come tonight as a guest, not staff, a rare night off in a silk dress the color of dark plum, and she had just kissed a total stranger in front of 200 people wearing feathers and jewels. "I am so sorry," she said, stepping back fast, heat crawling up her neck. "I thought you were someone else. My date said he would be wearing that exact mask." "Unfortunate coincidence for your date," the stranger said, not moving to correct the space between them nearly as quickly as she wanted him to. "A fortunate one for me." Up close, even behind the mask, something about him made the air in the room feel thinner. Broad shoulders under a black suit that fit like it had been built onto him rather than bought. A short dark beard along a jaw that looked carved rather than grown. He held himself the way certain men do in rooms full of powerful people. Not loudly, not with any visible effort, just with the quiet certainty that everyone else would move first. "I should find him," Wren said, already scanning the crowd for a second silver-trimmed mask. "You should," the stranger agreed. He did not sound like he meant it. She found Tyler by the bar 12 minutes later, his mask pushed up on his forehead, laughing with 2 women who worked in his firm's marketing department. He barely noticed she had arrived. Wren realized, with the specific, quiet humiliation of a woman finally seeing something she had been avoiding for months, that she had spent an entire relationship shrinking herself smaller and smaller so a man who never once looked up from his phone would not have to make room for her at all. She left the gala early that night. She did not know the stranger's name. She told herself it did not matter. It mattered 3 days later, when Ashford Blooms was hired to redo the floral displays for a private dinner at a house on Lake Washington. And the man who opened the front door to walk her through the space was the same pale gray eyes from the masquerade. No mask this time. "You," he said. "You," Wren said back, her clipboard suddenly feeling very heavy in her hands. His name was Alexei Sokolov. He owned 3 shipping and logistics companies along the Puget Sound. According to the paperwork her assistant had pulled for the job, what the paperwork did not say, and what Wren learned slowly over the following weeks, was that Alexei controlled considerably more of the port than any legitimate shipping company had any business controlling, and that the men who occasionally waited outside his properties in dark cars were not simply drivers. "I did not realize the florist from the gala and the florist for this dinner were the same woman," Alexei said, walking her through the house's back terrace, rain misting faintly over the water beyond the glass railing. "I did not realize the man I kissed by accident owned half the docks in this city," Wren said, and immediately regretted how it sounded out loud. Something shifted in his expression, not quite a smile, but close enough to unsettle her. "Half is generous. My competitors would disagree." He watched her work for most of that afternoon, standing near enough that she was constantly aware of him without ever quite catching him staring directly. When she reached for a high shelf and knocked a vase of ranunculus off balance, his hand caught it before it hit the floor, steady and fast, close enough that his sleeve brushed her arm. "You move fast for a shipping executive," she said, breath-catching. "I move fast for a lot of things," Alexei said, setting the vase down carefully. "It has kept me alive longer than most men in my line of work." Wren should have asked what that meant. She did not. Some part of her already suspected the answer would change everything, and some other part of her, quieter and more reckless, wanted a few more days of not knowing. Those days came anyway, whether she asked or not. Ashford Blooms was hired again 2 weeks later. This time for an event Alexei was hosting for men whose names Ren recognized from the news for reasons that had nothing to do with shipping. She caught fragments of conversation while arranging centerpieces, low voices discussing territory and shipments that were clearly not floral in nature. And by the end of the night, she understood exactly what kind of business actually ran through those docks. She should have ended the arrangement there. Instead, one of the guests, a sharp-eyed woman in emerald silk who clearly ran in Alexei's circle, cornered Ren near the floral display halfway through the night. "You are the girl from the masquerade," the woman said, looking Ren over slowly, the way people look at something they have already decided is not worth their time. "The florist who kissed the wrong man and then somehow kept getting invited back. Tell me, is that a business strategy? Or did you just get lucky?" "I got hired to do my job," Ren said evenly, refusing to let her voice shake. "The rest is between me and my invoice." "How practical," the woman said, smiling without any warmth in it at all. "Men like Alexei do not keep women like you around for long, sweetheart. You are a nice distraction. Enjoy it while it lasts." Ren felt the words land exactly where they were aimed, and for a moment the old, familiar instinct rose up in her. The one that had spent an entire relationship with Tyler learning to take up less space, apologize for existing, make herself smaller so no one would ever look at her like she did not belong. "Is there a problem here?" Alexei said, arriving beside them before Ren had even noticed him crossing the room. "No problem," the woman said, recovering fast under his cold, level stare. "Just welcoming your new florist to the circuit." She walked away without another word. Alexei watched her go, then turned to Ren. Something quiet and furious banked behind his eyes. "You did not need to do that," Ren said. "I have handled worse than a woman with too much champagne and not enough manners." "That is not the point," Alexei said. "The point is I have watched people underestimate you twice now, and both times you handled it better than I would have. I do not like watching it happen a third time without saying something." She should have walked away from the account entirely. Instead, Alexei found her packing up her supplies near midnight, the last guests gone, the house gone quiet around them. "You heard things tonight you were not meant to hear," he said, no apology in it, just fact. "I heard enough," Ren said carefully. "I do not need to know more than that. Most people, once they know what I actually am, do not want to be near me at all." He studied her in the low light, something guarded and searching behind the gray of his eyes. "You are still standing here." "I am still standing here because you are paying my invoice on time," Ren said, and watched, startled, as he actually laughed, low and short and genuinely surprised out of him. "That is the first honest answer anyone has given me in months," he said. It became a pattern neither of them named out loud. Alexei found reasons to be in the room while she worked. Ren found herself designing arrangements for events that did not strictly need a florist present for setup, just so she would have an excuse to see whether he would be there. He told her about his younger brother one rainy evening on that same terrace, a boy named Ilya who had died at 19 in gunfire meant for Alexei himself, a mistake in security that Alexei had spent 11 years blaming entirely on his own failure to see the threat coming in time. "I built walls after that," he told her, voice low, rain sliding down the glass behind him. "I decided the safest thing I could do for anyone I loved was to make sure I never loved anyone again." "That sounds like a lonely kind of safety," Ren said quietly. "It was," he admitted, "until an American florist kissed the wrong man at a party." The threat arrived the way threats always seem to in his world, quietly at first, then all at once. A rival named Nikolai Petrov had been circling Alexei's territory for over a year, and Petrov's people had noticed the florist who kept appearing at Alexei Sokolov's private events. Noticed the way his guarded, controlled boss had started smiling at something other than a closed deal. A photograph arrived at Alexei's office 2 days later, Ren leaving her shop alone at closing time. A short message attached in blunt, deliberate English. "Walk away from her or I make the introduction myself." Alexei did not tell her about the photograph immediately. He simply pulled back, canceled 2 events, stopped answering her texts about scheduling, and let 3 days of silence stretch out between them until Ren showed up at his office uninvited, furious and frightened in equal measure. "You do not get to just disappear," she said, standing in his doorway, chest heaving from the stairs she had taken 2 at a time. "Not after everything you told me on that terrace. I am trying to keep you alive, Ren," Alexei said, standing slowly behind his desk. "Petrov knows about you. If I keep seeing you, he will use you against me the first chance he gets. So your solution is to protect me by disappearing," she said. "That is not protection. That is just you deciding for both of us." He came around the desk, closer than he had allowed himself in weeks, and for a moment the careful distance he had built around himself for 11 years cracked open completely. "I have spent my whole life making sure nothing I loved could be used against me. I do not know how to do this any other way. Then let me help you figure out a new way," Ren said, and reached for his hand before either of them could talk themselves out of it. The retaliation came 4 nights later, faster and colder than either of them expected. Ren was closing her shop alone when 2 men she did not recognize stepped out of a parked car across the street. And it was only Alexei's driver, stationed there without her knowledge for exactly this reason, who intercepted them before they crossed the road. She learned about it only after the fact, from Alexei himself, arriving at her apartment pale with fury and relief in equal measure. "They were going to take you to send a message," he said, gripping her shoulders like he needed to confirm she was real. "Petrov wants me distracted, desperate, off balance. He thinks hurting you gets him that. Then we do not give him the chance," Ren said, steadier than she felt. "You keep protecting me from the shadows, and Petrov keeps escalating anyway. Maybe it is time to stop hiding what this actually is." Alexei looked at her for a long moment, something resolving behind his eyes. "You understand what that means. If I claim you publicly, you become a permanent target, not a temporary one." "I already am one," Ren said. "At least this way I am standing next to you instead of behind you." Petrov requested a meeting 3 days later, framed as a peace negotiation over shared shipping lanes, held at a warehouse near the port that both sides had used for legitimate business for years. Alexei walked in with only Ren and 2 of his most trusted men. A calculated show of confidence meant to prove he was not afraid. It was, Ren would realize later, exactly the kind of meeting a florist with sharp instincts and years of watching people manage difficult clients under pressure was better prepared for than anyone in that room expected. She noticed it before Alexei's own security did. A service door at the rear of the warehouse propped open with a folded cardboard flat. A detail so small most men in that room would have walked straight past it without a second glance. Event planning had taught her one lesson above all others. Watch the exits. Someone controlling a room always controls its exits first. "That door was not open when we walked in," she said quietly, close to Alexei's ear. His head turned a fraction. He saw it too now that she had pointed it out and understood immediately what it meant. Petrov had not come to negotiate. He had come to funnel a second team in from behind them. "Vasily," Alexei said quietly to the larger of his 2 men. "Rear door, now." The ambush broke half a second later, Petrov's men pouring through that prop door exactly as Ren had predicted, and for several terrifying seconds the warehouse dissolved into shouting and scrambling bodies and the flat, ugly crack of gunfire against corrugated steel. Alexei pulled Ren down behind a stack of shipping crates, his body angled fully over hers, and she felt, for the first time since this had all begun, exactly how far a man like him was willing to go to keep one person alive. Vasily and Alexei's second man cut down the ambush team fast, trained and ready in a way Petrov clearly had not planned for, and within a minute the warehouse fell into a ringing, smoke-hazed silence. Petrov himself had already bolted for a side exit the moment the first shots rang out, leaving his own men to absorb the consequences of his failed plan. Alexei found him 2 blocks away, cornered in an alley behind his own idling car, and Ren, following close with her heart still hammering, watched a version of him she had never seen before, cold and absolute and utterly without mercy. "You brought a war to my door because a florist kissed the wrong man at a party," Alexei said, his voice carrying easily in the narrow space. "That was the last mistake you get to make in this city." Petrov did not get the chance to answer. What happened next? Ren chose not to watch too closely, and Alexei never offered details afterward. She was learning fast. A person chooses not to know so they can keep loving the man who protects them without flinching from what it costs him. Petrov's territory was absorbed within the week. His remaining people were given a simple choice: work for Sokolov Shipping or leave the Sound entirely. Most left quietly. The threats stopped as fast as they had started, the way threats tend to once the person making them is no longer in a position to make anything at all. 6 months later, Ren stood on that same rain-misted terrace overlooking Lake Washington, watching Alexei walk toward her with 2 glasses of wine and an expression she still had not fully learned to predict, warm and careful and entirely unguarded now in a way that would have been unthinkable the night she kissed the wrong man in a silver-trimmed mask. Ashford Bloom's just got its biggest contract yet, she told him, taking the glass he offered. A permanent floral arrangement, fresh every week, for a certain shipping company's headquarters. I heard the owner is impossible to work with, Alexei said, the corner of his mouth pulling into something close to a real smile. Terrifying, actually, Ren said. Kisses complete strangers at parties, apparently. Only the right stranger, he said, setting his glass down to draw her closer against him, the rain sliding soft and steady against the glass beside them. I have spent 11 years making sure nothing in my life could be used against me. Then you walked up in the wrong mask, and I stopped caring about the risk entirely. Good thing I have a terrible aim at masquerade parties, Ren said against his mouth, just before he kissed her again. Slow and certain this time. No mistake in it at all. If Ren and Alexei's story kept you smiling tonight, tell us in the comments whether you have ever mistaken a stranger for someone else in a moment that changed everything. Give this one a like if you believe the best love stories start with the wrong door, the wrong mask, or the wrong kiss, and share it with someone who still believes in a little bit of beautiful chaos. Stay close, because the next story is already waiting for you right where this one leaves off.